What's up, everybody? On today's video, I'm going to show you how I made my Rib Tickles. I'm going to take you from start to finish, I'll show you my model, how I went about printing and painting him, and I'll walk you through each of those steps. As many of you know, he's from Forky Asks A Question. He was on the What is a Pet episode, and Forky was, of course, grilling him on what a pet is, and he handled it to the best of his ability. He was never actually made by anybody, so since he was a star of his own episode and a pretty fun character, I wanted to go ahead and make him. And it was important to make sure he fit inside of the Polly Pocket Giggles McDimples playset. So anyways, having said all that, let's get into today's video. So a little backstory on Rib first. He was actually supposed to be in Toy Story 4, but they ended up cutting him out due to, they said during test screeners that his story didn't really fit the main narrative of the movie, and audiences found it a little distracting. So they decided to cut him out, but they loved the character so much that they ended up bringing him back in Forky Asks A Question. We actually knew about Rib Tickles before the movie came out, because he was in a lot of the promo materials. So, you know, as we're dog lovers here, so we went into that movie like all excited, like, oh, there's a new fun dog Toy Story character, and then he was never to be seen. But it's just happy we got him eventually. He was actually also in the Toy Story 4 art book. They go through a lot of the concept art, and they show off his original concept art. So it's interesting enough that he made it far enough into the production process for him to make the book and not even actually get into the movie, which is a little unfortunate, because like based off of this art right here, like he's side by side with Giggles in the playset. So we probably, if he would have had an appearance, like I'm almost certain that he would have showed up in here and it would have been a fun, easy addition, and I wouldn't have to go about modeling and spending hours and hours modeling and printing and painting him. But nonetheless, here we are. What he was originally supposed to do in the movie was him and Giggle McDimples were gonna get swallowed by Dragon the cat in the antique store. But again, audiences found it too much of a distraction from the plot, so they just decided to remove that entirely. We never saw Giggles get eaten by a cat, which, speaking of which, this is the one video we do not want my cats to show up. We do not want, I'm sure Rib does not want to get swallowed on camera here. And the sharks are already circling, so we gotta hurry up and move it through this video. The way they ended up explaining it in Forky Asks A Question is that he was swallowed by Dragon the cat and was in their digestive system for over a week. So that's where they were during Toy Story 4. So when I designed him, I wanted, like, he had to fit in this playset. So he sits pretty well and everything. I basically scaled him so he was the exact same size as Giggles McDimples, as you can tell right here. Other than that, there's nothing too special about this print compared to other things I've made. You know, he's not articulated, there's no electronics, so it's pretty straightforward. He's just so small, so it takes a little bit of patience to sit there and paint him, and I've got to resin print it so I can capture all the small details. Other than that, let's just jump into how I went about making him. First off, here's my 3D model I did. I'm pretty sure this was the first thing I ever modeled. So this would have been about like 6 years ago, and I'm sure it took me a few weeks to model this, and would have been a very painstaking process since I had zero clue what I was doing. I think at the end of the day, it turned out pretty well, and I still find it to be pretty accurate, so I didn't need to like retouch up anything when I went and started this video. It's not the cleanest model mesh technically, but for 3D printing purposes, it doesn't really make a difference. But he's a pretty straightforward model since he's only one piece. I don't have to worry about too much here. So since I'm still pretty happy with it, I can go ahead and just send that off to my printer. I went ahead and primered these off screen. It wasn't anything exciting. It was just a can of white spray paint primer, and I just hit them all with lightly, so then that way when I went to go paint these, the paint would stick easily, because there's no way the paint's sticking to resin without a coat of primer down. So since they're so small, it's gonna be kind of a repetitive, like, painstaking process. It's not, you just gotta be patient. When you're brush painting, you have to like water down your paints a lot so you don't get brush marks. So every layer, every color takes probably like 2-3 coats just to put down like a good solid coat of paint. So first we're just going to paint these white just to get a good coat, base coat down. I always try to start with my lighter colors first, because like if I try to paint white over blue or black, it would just, those 2 to 3 coats now become 8 coats or whatever it is, and it just takes so long to cover up a darker color with a lighter one. So we're gonna do a couple coats of white, and once that's dry, I like to kind of go back and forth with like a little pencil and just kind of outline where I'm gonna paint. It really helps just kind of give myself a frame of reference, so then that way I'm not like experimenting with placement with actual paint that's not going to come off, because once we start going on with our colors, there's kind of no turning back. So I outline carefully kind of where the eyes are going to be and the brown markings. The clothing is pretty easy because I have, if we look back at the model, you can kind of see a lot of those other details are modeled in. Like you can visibly tell where his shoes are, you can tell where his pants are, you can tell where his belt buckle is, you can tell where the shirt's gonna be. You don't know where the sleeves are, but that's really easy because it's just half the arm. The main kind of thing to figure out is like the spots on his head. And it's also the largest surface, so it's gonna be the most noticeable. So I went ahead and pencil marked where I want to put my brown paint. So now that that's kind of worked out, I'm going to go ahead and start painting them. So I'm going to go in with the brown first, and we're going to do his ears, his eyes, all of his brown spots on him here at the first time. So we're going to do a few coats here. And now that we've got all the brown coats done, we can move on to the blue I decided to start with next. It probably doesn't totally matter, but go ahead and start with blue. So I'm going to just paint on the hat, paint on his shorts. Those are the 2 spots that have the dark blue. And you may be sitting there and asking yourself, why didn't she paint the other ear for Rib Tickles? That's obviously brown. And he's also missing some of the spots on his arms. And I would tell you, good freaking question. Let's go ask her. And then my response to everybody would be, well, I forgot. So I'm going to have to go back and do this a second time as soon as I realize it. So eventually we'll come up on me realizing it. And I would also tell you, joke's on you, spoiler alert, you're going to find out you forgot other things to paint. So you're going to have to last second paint those right when you're supposed to film it. So have fun with that. I don't know what's wrong with me. So as you've seen, we've finished up painting the dark blue, and I'm gonna start going in with the light blue to do his shirt. I really want to go in with like the black color last because it's the darkest, but it also overlays over the shirt, and for his tie, also over his like spots for his eyes. So I try to like make sure I paint in order, because I try to avoid having to like go back and forth with the same colors if possible. Half the time that just relies on me like remembering what I'm supposed to do and not just skip over stuff, which you obviously are seeing is a freaking pattern. You know that feeling you get when you're going on a trip and you're trying to pack and you're like, what did I forget? What did I forget? What did I forget? This is me when I'm building these things. I don't know why. I can never remember what I need to do, and I just sit there like worrying over what I possibly could have forgotten to do, and then it's always at the end. It's like there's half the time there's like some random little thing I forgot to do and I gotta go run back and do quickly. I don't know what's wrong with me, you guys. We'll just this is just, you're gonna have to get used to it. This is gonna be a part of the show. Now we have the shirt done, and this is where I realized I forgot to paint everything, and I thought this would be the last time I'm going back, but as we all know, I will be forgetting again. Now that we for sure have all the brown, well, much brown as I thought I did. He also had little paw pads that I had to go back and paint, so you'll see those later. But the eyes are always the most stressful part. At least for like, I think for like humans, we recognize like faces the most. Like we obviously recognize like faces more than we recognize like somebody's body type or hands or whatever. So It's always the most important part to get right, and it's always so stressful, especially when I'm going in with black. Like if I do something incorrectly, it's going to be difficult to get it off. So I just have to go really slow and carefully here doing the eyes, and the feet are easy. The feet are also like outlined pretty well on the model, so that one's mostly just like painting between, like staying within the lines. So I'm gonna do his feet, his belt, and his eyes, his nose, and his mouth. So I'll be going back and forth between a few different size brushes just to make sure I can get those details done as accurately as possible. And for this, I'm leaving the paint thicker than I did all the other coats, just because there's small details that I'm not going to be able to carefully like trace over what I already painted. I can with the feet, but the eyes and the mouth and stuff, I just really got to get it correct, like in one shot. If I try to like trace that over again with black, I would just end up going outside the lines or not getting all the way up to the line. So I left it really thick so I can just put one drop down with a brush and get the eye. I'm not like really dragging my brush around, I'm just patting it. If I drag my brush, you would see all of the brush lines. On the belt though, I can pull my brush across and drag it because the brush is so narrow, you won't really notice any brush marks. If I was having to paint any wider of a spot like the feet, that's where I would have to like pat my brush. I couldn't drag it across like I'm doing right now. And the mouth is so hard too since it's so like small. So I'm just really, you can see I'm just really taking my time with it. And now that the black's done, we can move on to the gold. I'm gonna do the stripe around his hat, and he's got a little paw print on the front of his hat. Their little Paw Patrol, well, isn't Paw, no. Is it Paw Patrol or is that a TV show? So we'll put the paw on the front, and then he's got a gold little belt buckle, and we'll paint that on. So what I'm missing is so he has two little brown paw pads in his hands, so I'm gonna have to paint those on. His eyes are also not completely black. They also have a little bit of like a lighter color shading in the corners just to kind of make that reflective, glistening eye look. And I also missed the belt loops that go over his belt. So there's supposed to be like 4 little blue belt loops on his pants or on his shorts. So I'll go ahead and add those later. That'll magically show up between the end of me showing you how to paint this and the outro, because I frantically panicked and had to hurry up and paint this and I didn't even have time to film it. Anyways, besides the couple things I missed here, that's about it. It's a pretty straightforward paint process. I'm also going to go clear coat him here. I didn't film that part since I was trying to hurry up and get this video done. I was out there clear coating him in the middle of the night and never would have been able to record it. It's not that exciting. It's just like I just took a can of spray paint, clear coat, and just cleared them all just so I could get that like nice even finish, and like it has a nice like semi-gloss sheen to it, so it looks more like a plasticky toy rather than a different material like this resin. And yeah, that's about it. Well, that about wraps things up for Rib Tickles. As you've seen, he's pretty much my most straightforward build I'm gonna do here. He's only one piece, he's a small character. I'm not gluing things together. Doesn't have articulations. I'm not having to put electronics in him and do all that type of stuff. So the only challenge here is trying to paint these really small micro details, but pretty happy with how he came out. It's just fun getting to complete the Polly Pocket set for Giggles and Rib. But again, thank you guys so much for watching another video. I super appreciate it and all the support you guys have been giving me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on any of my socials at Brush It Off Props. And I've got some really exciting videos in the works. I'm really excited about my next video. I'm recreating my Bo Peep lamp, which is like super accurate, and I get to bring it somewhere extremely exciting. So you'll want to be following me on my socials. All right, well, thanks so much for checking me out again, and I'll see everybody on the next video.